Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again so much for our time together. Well, APEC is over. Transportation returns to normal. No more fear of traffic other than the normal. So we're going to get back in services, back into things, and let's have a wonderful time in Jesus all this weekend. Right now, I want to take you to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5. And after I finish this, I'm going to ask you to go back and reread the book of 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 12. With the help of Silas, whom I regard as a faithful brother, I have written to you briefly, encouraging you and testifying that this is the true grace of God. Stand fast in it. That this, what I've just written you about, is the true grace of God. Stand fast in it. Now, there's a lot of people who talk about grace today, and I am a grace preacher. I mean, I refuse to give up that doctrine to people who want to take it to extremes. I am a grace preacher, just like I'm a prosperity preacher. I refuse to surrender truth to error. I refuse to back away from something because other people use it wrongly. I'm a grace preacher. But if you really want to understand true grace, now, Peter is the guy who stood there in Acts 15 in that first council in Jerusalem and spoke and helped make the decision about salvation by grace through faith. Go back and reread that in Acts 15. And then recognize this is a man who has a revelation of grace. Not just Paul. Peter has an incredible revelation of grace. Now go back and read chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and recognize Peter says, you want to know what grace really is? I just wrote you what grace really is. This is true grace. Now I challenge you. Now go back and read chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4, and chapter 5 of 1 Peter with this filter in your mind. This is true grace. And then he gives one more thing. Stand fast in it. Don't stand fast in other people's doctrines of grace. Stand fast in this revelation of true grace.